Okay, good evening everyone. So it's 7 o'clock, so we might make a start. Thanks for making the effort for coming online tonight. What we're going to be covering is basically getting started on benchmarking and having a bit of a yarn about what's involved with that. Just to get started there, what I'd like you to do is answer this this poll or questionnaire that I've just chucked up on your screens there in front of you. So with regards to tonight, what I'm interested to find out is what would you like to know more about tonight? So if you could select possibly your top two different areas, just gives me a bit of an idea what it is you already know about benchmarking or what it is that you may like to know a little bit more about. So if you could just take a minute there just to answer those for me, that would be appreciated. Just give it a few more seconds. We've just got 1 or 2 million people there to vote, so if you could just put down your preferences there for what it is you want to cover, it'll help me this evening to tailor what it is that I talk about. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's great. I'll just pull that up there for now. So what I'd like to get back to, if I can just change that view back, here we go, fantastic. Tonight's webinar, so based on what you've just given me there, which was great, I just want to start off from a bit of a higher level. I'd like to talk about what are some of the components of a healthy business, just so we can see where actually benchmarking fits in from my point of view. So for those who came a little bit late there, my name's David McLean and one of the consultants and educators with RCS. So one of the jobs that I do is go around, as well as managing the benchmarking process, I run different types of workshops, whether that's business-based or grazing-based or people-based, as well as doing one-on-one consulting work. Now, with going around and doing that, there's always different businesses are at different places, and different businesses are always looking for something different at this point in time that's going to take their business to that next level and take their operation to the next level, whether that just be increasing profitability or just increasing the efficiency and therefore the contentment of those people within that business. So I just want to start at a very high level, just to make sure that we're clear on where this fits in. Then I want to talk about what is benchmarking, just again, just to touch on what it is, and a little bit on, and it was one of the questions that came back there quite strongly. You wanted to know why benchmark and how will benchmarking benefit your business. And then I want to talk about benchmarking via the RCS Profit Pro program. So we'll talk about getting started and how to use that information. So that's a little bit about where we're going to head this evening. Now, as I was just mentioning, from a bigger picture point of view, I just want to start off looking at the components of this healthy business. And if we look at all the different parts that are there, there's quite a lot to doing it. And in most cases, you'll be actually operating and running a multi-million-dollar business. And I think all too often in agriculture, we don't actually stop and think about that very fact that we are running a multi-million-dollar business. If we're running a multi-million-dollar business in a more business sense in an urban environment, well, there's a lot more pressure, and we get a lot more responsibility placed on us by shareholders or business owners. In agriculture, we tend to probably not acknowledge that fact about the size of the asset that we are dealing with and the size of that business. Some of the different components. The first thing we want to look at is production. Okay, so what is it that you're actually producing in your business? And we're going to get clear about that firstly. And are you producing the most profitable crop or type of animal for your land type and where you sit? To be able to answer that question, we need some other information. Some of that information is going to be based on what records you keep at a paddock level. So currently, how do you record your paddock and production information? One of the questions I want to see is it streamlined, efficient, and easy for anyone to follow? So with this, we want to know that you can put your hands on it very quickly and easily, and as well as that, somebody else can come in and find that information easily. If it's a bit cryptic and you're the only one that can decipher it, it makes it a bit difficult for that business to be run efficiently because the reliance comes back onto one person. Once you've got those paddock records, we also need to pull that across and use that in our financial records, both hard copy and electronic. Now, are they dealt with quickly, filed logically, and easy to find when you need them? Is it a one-touch process? Something comes in the mail, you process it and then file it, and that's it and it's done with. And if you need to know anything about that again, it's all recorded and easy to find. Or does it end up in a shoebox? And from there, it's a bit difficult to actually pull information out about what happened financially in your business to know what actually happened. Now, one of the best ways to use all that and to pull all this information together obviously comes back to different computer packages that you may be using. Now, to me, in a rural sense, your computer package that you're using must be able to provide you with good management accounts as well as taxation accounts. And management has been the preferable one there for us. And is your data entry simple and clear? And does it give you good information back again? And it gives you this information down here when we're looking at reports. Now, can your computer package pull your paddock records or even just your financial records to tell you what's actually happened quickly and easily? Can you press a button and have your software, have your computer package generate a really good report, a reliable report to tell you how your business has performed? And does that pull your management figures together? Because the two different reports that we want to pull out in the first instance is for taxation reasons. Now, we do need to manage our tax situation, and it is a very important part of our businesses. So we need to know actually what's happening there, what's our tax liability, and how do we best reduce that. I will throw something up here for you to consider though. I see a lot of decisions being made based on tax and a lot of decisions being made thinking, okay, how is it that I reduce tax in my business? And in agriculture we have this, in general, we have this huge fear of paying tax, and we do everything we can to avoid bloody tax. The problem with that, and I guess where I spend a lot of my time, is we need to generate a profit before we worry about paying tax. And unfortunately, in this benchmarking work that I do and analysing a lot of businesses each year, I see a lot of businesses that aren't actually generating a significant profit in the first place. So let's look first and foremost at increasing profit, then minimising tax, and put it into that order. So whilst we need to pull out these tax reports here, what's more important is to actually be able to spit out management analysis reports. And this is the bit you get paid for. Now, with these analysis reports around your management side of the business, we want to look historical, so what actually happened, but we also want to be able to have information in there around your budgets and your forecasts and what you think is going to happen in front of you. Now, we want to learn from what happened in the past to make better decisions going forward. And it's not about budgets, and not saying for a minute that the budget you create has got to be 100%. If you put a budget, well, that's got to be dollar for dollar. That's not the reality of the situation at all, and it should never be. When we're doing a budget, it's a matter of putting down on paper what is it that you expect may happen, or what is it that you hope may happen. If it's not going to work on paper, the likelihood of it happening in the paddock is pretty slim. The other thing too is just actually know, I mean, if you do a budget and you're budgeting for a loss, now is the time to start looking at how we change that and what different decisions do you make internally in your business to turn that around, rather than getting to 12 months down the track and looking at what did happen and finding that you actually made a loss and thinking, oh, I wish that didn't happen. So there's two different sides to it there. Your tax side is, you spend quite a bit of money with your accountants each year around managing that. Where I want to focus on is this management accounting side. So if we come back in here, now we've looked at production, paddock records, our financial records, computer packages and generating reports. We then use all this information for benchmarking. Now where I see benchmarking fit in, it's this independent analysis to see how did your business actually perform relative to your industry peers. And it's used to identify in a uniform way how your business actually performed and what aspect of your business, if improved, will have the biggest impact on profit. Now what benchmarking does for you that doesn't happen back in your own reports is it compares apples with apples. So we convert everything into a format where I can compare a business from Central Queensland with a business from Western Queensland to one from New South Wales to one from Western Australia. Now those businesses at a very detailed level will be extremely different. Some of them might be running meat sheep and some of them might be running breeder cattle. However, at a strategic level, there's still aspects of that business which are very much able to be compared. And the important thing is the way that we analyse those businesses is the same. So we take out some of the variations that you may see in how individuals may generate their reports and make them so we can compare them as uniformly as possible. So I see benchmarks as being, and that benchmarking process in your Profit Probe reports as being a bit like an endpoint. It's not about keeping all these records just to benchmark. It's about keeping all these records so that you can generate these reports and know what's happening in your business every quarter, every month, however you may do it, however you may make your decisions. And then you can pull that information together and actually benchmark how your business performed. And that's sort of okay, let's pull it all together in a really uniform way by somebody independent to see how we went and how we performed relative to how other people are doing. Once you have those benchmarks, we can then have a look at, that's a really accurate record of what actually went on. Now, then's the time to renew your strategy. Did your business perform the way that you wanted it to? And relative to how you need your business to perform, did it actually generate the profits that you need? Okay, so you plan ahead to increase your turnover, increase your gross margins with lower overheads to essentially increase your profit. Those three secrets that we talk about if you've done one of our programs. Once you've reviewed your strategic direction, then's the time to put that renewed strategy into action. Okay, so it's about looking at that planning and reviewing part, but then more importantly getting out there and actually putting it into action, doing it. And then we start all over again. Now this cycle of the action, the doing, the monitoring what actually happened, and revising and then going out and doing it again and monitoring is a constant process within any business that we look at. Now you might go through this cycle on a week, on a very short time frame. At other times you might go through this cycle over 12 months, depending on how big a strategy you're actually implementing. It might just be changing one thing in how you muster a paddock. It might just be changing one thing in a feed regime in a feedlot, so you get very quick feedback. But the important thing is that we're constantly going through doing, monitoring, revising, and with this we're measuring what actually went on. So we're dealing with facts within our business. So a little bit more on benchmarking. What is it? Benchmarking, the easiest way to put it, is a logical process for comparing your business performance against aggregated data from your peers. Now within the Profit Probe, it's a confidential third-party business analysis of your actual results. That's what actually went on. And it's a tool that's been used by high-performing businesses for decades, and they may not have necessarily labelled us as benchmarking, but it's that process of comparing how they've performed with other people. What benchmarking is not, and I know there can be a few ideas about and some fears related to benchmarking. First and foremost, it's not a competition. Okay, so it's not a matter of seeing whether you're doing the best out of everyone. And the other thing with it is it's not related to your tax returns or statements. Your data that you'd send in, so those of you who do Profit Pro benchmarking, the information that comes in is private between yourself and myself, or the RCS staff member that's working with your data. It doesn't get released to anybody else without your permission, and there's never any need to do that anyway. So it's not related to tax, it's based on what actually happened within your business. Some of the reasons around why benchmarks, coming back to your question, how will benchmarking benefit my business? In a strategic way, and in a way that it's a very clear process to how to prepare your information. It enables you to focus your management decisions so that you can increase the profit within your business, improve efficiency, reduce costs, and increase production. Now the key word there is focus. When we're in a business and we're busy all the time, if we're in agriculture, we're in that wrong industry if we want to have lots of spare time. Quite often we're time poor, and we really need to use our time very effectively. So we need some tools within our business that enable us to know, if I put my effort in this area, it's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck. If I focus on this area of my business, it is going to have the biggest impact on profit within my business. If we don't have a process, if we don't have a tool within our business to help us to identify which part of our business isn't actually performing in the best possible way that it can, quite often we can focus on areas that, okay, they could be improved, but they're not going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And we see this all the time. Now, I mentioned before those 3 secrets that we talk about in our courses, whether we want to increase gross margin, increase turnover, or decrease overheads. Whether it's in executive link, or whether it's me doing consulting work one-on-one with a business or family, one of the first things I want to do is I want to identify which one of those 3 secrets is most limiting profitability in this business at this point in time. From then, we can then dig down into that area, which if we focus on and if we look at, okay, what's actually holding this part of the business back, will give us the biggest impact on profitability or efficiency within that business. So it's about just giving you those tools and confidence to know, yep, this is the part of my business that's most holding me back, to get the greatest response from minimum outlay and minimum effort. It helps you to monitor your financial position year by year and monitor trends. Now, for me personally, when I'm working with people that have done Profit Pro for multiple years, comparing your results to that aggregated result of your peers is one part of it. One of the main parts for me is actually monitoring how is your business performing year by year by year. So if we do a benchmarking report in year 1, and that's the first time you've done it, okay, let's look at how your business is performing. We identify which part of your business isn't operating as well as it can be, and then we focus on, okay, what do we need to improve? And then we look at it a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, and we look for trends. Okay, we implemented some strategies in year 1 to change how your business is performing. Is that actually providing results? And if it's not providing results, we need to go back and look at that strategy that was implemented. And it's a really rewarding process, because you think about how much work you put into your businesses. You put in an enormous amount of work and effort and blood, sweat and tears to be able to look back and see your financial performance trending upwards and to see your production figures trending upwards. It's a great pat on the back for you, and you know that it's real results. One of the parts with it, it's independent, so you can't hide behind it. It's very much a learning process. If you haven't done benchmarking with Profit Pro before, the first time you do it is very much a learning process, and it's about learning what types of information and how do I record this information for me to be able to actually analyse my business. In some cases, your first result may not actually be a very accurate result, and that doesn't matter. That's fine. The important thing is we look at, right, what do I need to change to enable next year to be meaningful, and that's when you really start to get this business working. How it works, just a little bit of an overview for you on how benchmarking with Profit Pro works. You download some files from our website, or we can help you to get hold of those, and it's an Excel input sheet, so Microsoft Excel, and you will need to have either Microsoft Excel 2007 or newer, because it is a fairly complex sheet in the back end that you won't be able to see. So you go through and you basically put stock information, your cropping information, your basic business information, assets, liabilities, expenses. You enter that in, and then you upload that Excel input sheet onto the RCS website in the members section. So we'll create an account there for you specific to your business. That data then gets overlooked by one of our analysts, and then it gets processed through this purpose-built industry-leading database, and it is the only benchmarking program in Australia that operates on a database program. Once that's been uploaded, you'll have a draft report available for download again back from the members section. So you log into your personal account and download your draft report, and then towards the end of that process, our analyst comes in again and analyses that data. We'll have ongoing communication with each client about just clarifying the data and make sure it's real and correct and accurate. And then at different times of the year, a final report, including industry benchmarks, is sent out to you. So that's a bit of an overview on how it works. You download an Excel input sheet, you upload that onto the website, and then that gets processed and you get your draft report sent back to you. Just a little bit around data protection and confidentiality. It's important for you to note that you can't see anybody else's individual data and nobody can see yours. Now, it's only aggregated data of an entire benchmark group that is shared between clients. So we might get 20, 30, 50, 100, 150 different businesses and look at, right, what's the average result from that group? And that's all that's published. So it is not possible for anybody to be able to determine how any other individual's business has performed unless you actually show them. And within an RCS at our staff level, it's only staff with adequate clearance that can actually access the results and access your data. So your data is very much confidential, and we operate within the Privacy Act within that as well. So I do a lot of benchmarking work in conjunction with different groups, such as the DPI through different states, and we have release forms to make sure that we've actually got permission from the individual clients before we release any results back to the departmental people. One of the big things with any benchmarking work that you do is to remember it is historical. So the information that you send in, it's a financial and production record of what did happen. Now, you can't change that. If it's happened, we can't change history. What we want to do is we want to learn from those results and use them to make changes for better performance going into the future. And I love this little African proverb, not to know is bad, not to wish to know is worse. So if your business isn't performing, or if you're not sure whether all the work that you're doing every day of every week is actually producing results for you, it's a pretty good process to go through, and let's see how your business is actually performing. So getting started. You get started by going to the RCS website. So just wait for that to come up for you, hopefully. So on the RCS website here, you can see there's a members section button up the top right here. If you don't already have a members section account, there's an input sheet that we will get you to fill in, and you can download this off the website, and it just enables us to create a members account for you. It's just a few little bits of information. You fill that in and we'll send you back an email letting you know what your login information is. Within here, and I'll just show you, and if there's a couple of steps to it, but if you have any troubles, all you need to do is give us a call. So underneath services here on our website, it goes straight to benchmarking, and there's a bit of information and previous information around the benchmarking process. And there's a tab on the left here with benchmarking, a bit more information, and then we can go into getting started here. Underneath getting started, there's a bit more just background information. So if you're ever unsure about the process, quite often you can find everything you need to do here. Here's that members site application that I just showed you, and then here's all your other documents to download. So you can download the input sheet and the help document. There's quite a large help document to help you on each page if you're unsure about what to fill in or how to fill it in. there's a help document. You just press a button on your input sheet and it takes you straight to that. So I'll just quickly show you the input sheet. Just with regards to, you know, a lot of you wanted to know how to use this input sheet. So this is the basic input sheet here. If you're ever going to complete Profit Probe, one thing I would ask is that you, just before you get started, you always go back to our website or give us a call and make sure you've got the latest version of this input sheet, because we are constantly improving it and improving its functionality. So there's a bit more information here. It is important also that you, there's another document that you can download from the website called Startup Instructions. And I would ask that you probably just have a little quick look through that, and it just helps you to set your folder up and enable macros so that your input process runs very smoothly. So you've got property information here where you complete all your data, and there's lots of little helpful tips and hints as we go along. And if you're ever unsure about what's here, you can just hit this help button up on the top left here, the little question mark, and it'll take you to the appropriate part of the help document. So you put in your probe analysis name, which we will actually issue you with a name just to make sure that it is unique to your business. So I'll issue you that, and if there's any questions again, you just give us a ring. Put in your address, the analysis period, so most of the ones that I've got coming in at the moment are obviously for the 2011-12 financial year. Property area you own, if you're leasing country, that information goes in there. Average rainfall, actual rainfall. I think that page is fairly straightforward. The next page here is enterprise allocation, and you'll see that there's it's quite open there for you. Step one is to think about, righto, what is it within your business that I would actually like to analyse? So if I'm a producer in southwest Queensland, the most likely enterprises that you're going to have out there will be sheep and cattle. So with completing Profit Probe, you can be as extremely detailed as you would like, or you can be as simple as you would like to a point. You could break down your sheep, so within your division, you might have a sheep division first, enterprise wool, and you might call this your wool enterprise. Now you might have another division there which may be cattle. Now the type there is on the meat, milk or feedlot, and you might call this cattle breeding, and you'd have that put that in there. Now you might have two different cattle enterprises, so you might breed and then you might also do a bit of trading as well. So you might enter another enterprise in, still in the cattle division. It's still a meat producing enterprise, but now you might call this one cattle trading. The important first step, what I'd suggest to you, is you just take a moment to get a scrap bit of paper or discuss with the other members of your business, actually, what is it that we produce in our business? What is it that we're actually producing there? And what is it that we would like to analyse? Now, if you've got crops, you'll come in here and you can see these are the different choices that you've got: cattle, sheep, crop. Other livestock, for example, you might have goats or alpacas. We have a bit of everything coming through. Other business, that might be if you have a consulting business or a contracting business. So you might have had one today, a cotton producer from New South Wales, and they do quite a lot of contracting, so they've got that under other business. And then sugarcane. If you had crop, you select crop, and then you come over here and select what type of crop it is. So if it was, let's just go barley because it's there, and call that barley. So step one is to please just have a think about what different types of divisions and enterprises you would like to analyse in your business. And you just map them out, and you can have as many different enterprises under your sheep or cattle division as you like. So I've got some producers that break their cattle division up into about 4 or 5 enterprises. Breeding, trading, fattening, heifers, feedlot. There's a number of different types. And obviously people with mixed crops, we end up with a lot of different crop types coming through. Once you've selected that and you allocate your area to each of them, and we would have already put your area back on your property information page. What you do here is you select your reporting unit, whether you want to operate in DSC or LSU. And so if you're in New South Wales, you're more likely to select DSC all the way through. If it's barley, quite often you're going to operate in tonnes. And you allocate your hectares. I'll just leave that blank for now. Once you've done that, and this is where it's important to get a pretty good idea about what different types of enterprises you have in your business, you then click Show Data Input Tables. Now, your spreadsheet, and depending on the speed of your computer, it'll flicker and flutter a little bit for a few seconds. But what that then does is that then unhides the necessary input sheets down the bottom here that you need for your different enterprises and divisions. Because we analyse a lot of different businesses, if you've only got sheep, you don't really need to see other business, sugar, cattle, cropping, input sheets. So you'll only see the sheep one. So it really is tailored just for whatever it is that you may have. And then the way I'd suggest, once you've got that part filled in, okay, once you've got this enterprise allocation page filled in and you've hit your show data input tables, just start working from left to right through your different pages. Now you can just do that by clicking on this little arrow to the right up here, and that just takes you through each of your different pages. If you run into any troubles, you just hit this little help button and it takes you to the appropriate part of the help document. And look, I might just go back and wrap up a little bit more about the general positioning of Profit Probe and where it fits in. And then if anyone's got any specific questions about this input sheet, because I know some of you that are logged on tonight are actually going through and filling this in at the moment, we'll open it up to questions. So once you've filled in that input sheet, now one little word of advice, a bit of a tip for you. Let's say you download the input sheet and you start just put in your basic property information and set up your enterprises tonight, and you save that into your Profit Probe folder on your computer. When you come back tomorrow or the next day and start doing some more information, what I'd do is I'd go File, Save As, and save it as Day 2. So you just get a bit of a quarantine in there, I guess, of the historical data that you've entered, and you say if something goes wrong or something changes, you can go back to a previous sheet and just pick up where you were. So it's just probably not a bad little tip there to go with. Once you've completed that sheet from start to finish, you come in and you log into the members section of the RCS website, and then on the left here you'll see there's this Profit Probe button. And then you come in there and you'll see this analysis property. And this is the name that we will have issued to you, so we make sure that it's unique. So if you've got a business called Spring Creek, we don't end up with 3 Spring Creeks coming in, and it can get confusing, and it makes sure that your results absolutely go back to you. So if your input sheet and that name there, which we've already filled in for you, you can't edit that one. If they don't match up, your file won't process. It's a security measure there to make sure that your results are secure. So you upload here, write your name there, so you might just put that it's your 2011-12 Profit Probe. You choose your file, so you hit that and browse within your computer to where that file is sitting. Tick there's terms and conditions there of the input, tick that and submit, and then that uploads your file via the web to our computer in our RCS office. And you'll see down the bottom here, when it says, it'll say either pending, download or fail. When it says pending, and it'll take a little while to upload, your file size typically is around about 1 meg. When it says pending, that just means that it's sitting with us, awaiting to be processed before it comes back to you. When it processes, if it processes successfully, you'll get an email come through which will tell you that it's available for download, and you log back in here and press this download button there, and you can download the PDF of your draft report. Some of the questions that you ask, and one of the really important things, if you endeavour to get involved in Profit Probe, is to make sure that you actually do use this information to make decisions. And if you're unsure about how to interpret it, we've got a number of consultants in different areas that can either spend some time with you on farm, and we're always in different parts of Australia at different times of the year, or we've got different consultants that can work with you remotely to help you to interpret these results to make sure that you're getting maximum benefit from it. A couple of the questions that we ask is, what phase is the business in? That's an important first question, because interpreting your results is quite unique to your business. And I'll come back to something I said before, that comparing your results to the aggregated data is one part, but interpreting your results for what it means specifically to your business is one of the most powerful parts of this program. So you've got to know what phase is your business in, which indicator is working in your business. So we come back to a few key ratios and a few key performance indicators and say, right, what's actually working in my business at this point in time? And then you ask yourself, righto, which indicator is most hurting my business? Which indicator or which aspect of my business is most restricting profitability in my business at this point in time? And we ask that question, and then from that, we can then dig down and chunk down into that area to identify, okay, this is one of the most important parts of my business that I need to focus on to increase profitability. And it's a very focused way of doing it. Because within all our different areas, and these are some of the different parts of your business of how we break down your results. Basic productivity, your people performance level, so how effective are your labour units, pecuniary, which is your finance performance, property and land performance, and overall profitability. So these 5 Ps are the different areas we break down your results. And you'll see your actual results where you're actually performing, and we want to compare that to, righto, where are your benchmarks? What is possible for you to do? And that's where we really look at these benchmarks and the aggregated data from your peers. Okay, this is where I'm performing. Well, help. If the top 20% or even the average producer is doing this in my region, it just goes to show what is possible. And this is where, getting help with interpreting your results is worth a lot of money to you. Just a little bit of information about just to see what type of data you get back. There's a little tiny balance sheet there, one of the smallest balance sheets you'll see, but it contains all the data that we need to analyse your business. Okay, opening and closing assets, liabilities, and equity. And then we move on to at a cash movement level. So we bring into account, okay, this is what money came in and this is what money came out. So net flows of your business to get down to a cash flow, or EBIT, earnings before interest and tax, and business profit. Now you'll see there's 2 columns here. One's based on cash and one's based on gross product. Cash is important to see, okay, what happened with your movements of cash through your business through this year. It helps us to know that you've given me all the data that I need. So it helps to verify the information that I receive. Where we look at and spend most of our time, though, is your information based on gross product. And this is where I was talking before about this information is comparable between different businesses. Now, I'll just bring up these little different points here. We take into account, when we're talking about figures based on gross product, we take into account closing inventory and opening inventory of livestock. Now, if you're in a situation, let's say you're fattening animals or you're backgrounding livestock, if you've got some steers there that are getting along and they're just not quite ready to go, or it rains, which is quite happening this year, and it rains and you can't sell them in June. So you get to the end of your financial year, the 30th of June, and let's say you would have liked to have actually sold them, and therefore they would have shown up in cash, they would have shown up in sales, but in reality they didn't. During that financial year, you may have still taken that animal from being a $400 animal to a $700 or $800 animal. But just because you didn't sell it on this day, or didn't sell it during June, doesn't mean that you didn't actually generate that productivity on your business during that period. By taking into account the changes in your inventory value, now this can be livestock, this can be grains. For example, you might have harvested during the month of June, and you might have all that grain sitting in your silo, either waiting for trucks or waiting for a more opportune time to sell. But just because you didn't sell it didn't mean that you didn't produce it. But we know, sure as anything, that you incurred those expenses in producing it. So by taking into account the change in opening and closing inventory, we're getting a much truer idea of how your business performed. You can see in this case here, opening livestock inventory was 1.36 mil, closing livestock inventory is 1.56 mil. So the livestock, or the asset running around in the paddock, in this case, increased by 200,000. Cash-wise, the gross product for the business was about 740. Economically, which is where we look at, the gross product was 940. Okay, they could have sold $200,000 worth of animals, and then your cash and gross product would have been the same. So we want to just keep it comparable. The other big thing that we take into account is unpaid labour. Now, if I've got one business, and I've been analysing quite a number of businesses this week, and it's interesting, some businesses, they pay their workers, or they have workers in the business, or they have family members, and they pay them a full market wage. Okay, so they pay them what they could go and get, for example, if they went and worked with their neighbours. So in that case there, we know the true cost of labour. However, the next business that come in, it might just be a husband and wife team, and they'll live on the smell of an oily rag. They might take very little amount out in drawings. There's no right or wrong with it, and it's very much down to a personal preference. But when it comes down to me analysing and comparing these businesses for how the actual core business performed, we do need to take into account the value of the unpaid labour. And we look at it from the point of view that, let's take that husband and wife example. If something happened, or if they weren't working in the business and they had to employ somebody else to come and work in the business, how much would that business have to pay? Okay, what is the actual true cost of that labour? And that's one of the areas that enables us to compare businesses with businesses. And then finally, we take out drawings and we put in unpaid labour, and we take into account depreciation. So that's just some of the things that we look at in there. We then take this information based on gross product, and we break that down into quite a large number of key performance indicators. And you get your indicators, there's your results, so it shows you how your business has performed. And then we look at how the top 20% performed. So top 20% is the most profitable businesses. And we look at the average results and benchmark. So that's the rolling 3-year average of the top 20. So you get to see your business broken down into quite a large number of key performance indicators compared to the top 20 average and the rolling 3-year average of the top 20% of businesses, just to compare how it is you're going. Different pages give you your historical data lined up year by year by year, so you can monitor trends. And then different pages you get broken down into each enterprise. So you'll have your cattle broken down into quite a lot of detail. You'll have each crop broken down into detail. And then at the end of the report, it breaks down each of your enterprises in a summary table. So you can look across these different enterprises and say, righto, what's performing well in my business and what's not performing so well. It all comes back to just knowing what's going on in your business. Using this information, knowing what's happening in your business to make better decisions going forward. There's a couple of little statements there from Dwight Eisenhower that talks about planning and the importance of planning. Good plans are based on good knowledge of the reality of what's actually happening in your business. If you don't have a fairly good grasp or a good handle on what's happening in your business now, it's very difficult to make good plans, and it's difficult to know what's the potential of your business. Can you meet these expenses that you've got coming up? Are you going to be able to set yourself up for retirement? Hope that's still working. Are you going to be able to set yourself up for retirement? Hope that's still coming through there for you. Okay, so with going through and still interpreting your information and filling in this data, now there's a pretty detailed help document that's available there for you. But if you run into any troubles, quite often a quick call to us or a quick email through can save you a hell of a lot of time and quite a lot of frustration as you put this in. One of the other things that I'll mention at this point in time, with completing this data, it's important for me to be as accurate as you can with the information that you actually have at this point in time. if you don't have a lot of records, if you don't know your stock numbers well, or your cropping information, or your expenses very well, or your weights, well, just be as accurate as you can with what you do have and use it as a learning process to identify what it is you can do to improve how you keep those records. And you just want to make sure that you do it efficiently. I don't want to see anybody having to spend huge amounts of time